Hi, everyone. I'm Connie Zabo-Schmucker, Advocacy Director at Bicycle Garage Indy, and I am joined by the Pathway Over Pogues folks, as well as Reconnecting to our Waterways, and they're going to give us an update about the Nowland Avenue Bridge and plans for Pogues Run Trail. And just a couple of notes. Spotlight on Bicycling is now going to monthly, so it's the third Monday of the month. So the July program is still to be determined, but it will be coming up fairly soon in about a month. So check for your emails and check on our YouTube channel for what that program will be. And I will turn it over to, I think, the Pathway Over Pogues folks first.
Hello, I'm Laurie Klinger, and I've been involved with initiating an effort to fix a historic bridge in Spades Park on the near east side of Indianapolis that has been deteriorating for many decades. And as is typical, there's never any funding. So Connie knows this well. And so we reached out to the city on multiple occasions, we being just individuals in the neighborhood, and said, hey, you know, this is in bad shape. You can barely walk across it. And it's the main way for us to get from Spades Park to Brookside Park, which is our beautiful park system on the Near East Side. It's one of the best in the city, I think. And our response kept being, we don't have the money. And so finally we set up a meeting with the city and we said, what's it going to take? And they said, well, maybe if you raise some money, maybe then we'll pitch in. So we were just a bunch of individuals from different neighborhoods that live nearby, and that includes me, and it includes Jim, and it included people from Spades Park neighborhood, and Jim is from Woodruff Place, I'm from Springdale, and
Windsor Park.
And various neighborhoods close to this area. And when they told us that, and we had to come up with a plan for how to raise money. None of us, it wasn't like we were some, you know, big organization, we weren't. And so we had some talented people who helped us create a wonderful website that's still, and that's called popindy.org. We eventually reached out to Central Indiana Community Foundation and said, you know, can you help us? And we sent pictures of the condition of the bridge. And we had this model, Jerry Shepard, showing, as if pretending he was falling in these big crevices, because the bridge was in such bad shape that big chunks had fallen off. And the pathway that you could walk across was getting narrower and narrower to the point where it really was feeling like it, you know, the whole thing could just cave in, whatever. And so the pictures were kind of funny. He was wearing a suit, and we sent it cold to CICF, and the reaction was, you know, we get hundreds of requests, but this one we just couldn't not do something about. So they gave us a $30,000 match. And then all of a sudden we had to figure out how to raise $30,000. And this was all going towards trying to raise enough, we discovered, to pay just to design the repair of this bridge. We eventually made that our goal. We exceeded it. We raised $40,000. We had $70,000 towards the goal then with our match. And then Rhodes stepped in with one of their partners, and they gave us another $70,000. That was more than enough for us to design the repair all by ourselves. City didn't step in with a cent. And so we were able to move ahead and get a designer or an engineer, our QAW, they designed the repair. And we learned that it was going to cost us about $524,000 to do the repair. So then we had to start raising all over again. And this was right when COVID hit, it was in 2020. So everything, all the money was going to COVID, all the money was going to Black Lives Matter and all these other social justice important issues. No, but there was nobody who wanted to spend money on a bridge, and the state didn't want to spend the money on the bridge. They wanted to spend it on they were going to do anything on a trail. We just couldn't find anybody. So we struggled. We tried to do a virtual opening. We did, and thank you to Rhodes, they helped us with that. But we were just, you know, drips and drabs. And then finally, we got a CDBG grant for 600,000. And that was going to cover the cost, likely should cover the cost. And so that's where we're at now. We should have enough to get it done. It's going to take longer than we hoped. 2022 is the scheduled time to do the repair. And the good thing about this bridge is it's also going to make it easier to do the Pogues Run Trail, which Rose is going to talk about, because the bridge is part of the trail. You can't build a trail that goes to nowhere. So this was holding up the trail Greenway's master plan back in '94, and it's been held up in large part because of this bridge. And I'm going to turn it over to Jim and let him go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to state, the main purpose of fixing the bridge kind of realized it was a problem because it was on the scheduled pathway for this new bike and pedestrian path called Pogues Run Trail, which currently runs from 10th Street just east of the Monon, basically up to the start of Spades Park. And it will eventually go all the way up to the Pogues Run Nature and Arts area right south of I-70. Many of you have seen it off of I-70. So it'll be really the first major path in the east side. I think we felt like it'd be a real bonus to the development that's already occurring on the near east side. And we ran up to this bridge and had to get over Pogues Run somehow. And this is a historic bridge. It's kind of a one of a kind in Indianapolis. So the design is going to restore the historic nature of it. And so it'll not only be a pathway, it'll be beautiful. So there's a lot of aspects of that. So it'll be a major improvement to the Near East Side, and we're seeing a lot of new development over there. This will just further strengthen that. And so for you bikers, this will be a great new bike path that you haven't currently have, and maybe further on that can be linked up to other stuff going further east.
So I think that's the end of ours. And so now we're going to turn it over to Reconnecting to our Waterways. They're the spearheaders for actually getting the trail finished, which is going to be just, a great asset for this area. Thanks. Dan.
Thank you, Laurie. So I'm Julie Rhodes. I'm the Collective Impact Director for Reconnecting to our Waterways, or ROW. And the first thing I'll do is show you a video. You'll see some folks that on there that you I will recognize now. So just give me one moment to cue that up. I'm actually going to the POP website, so you can watch it again there if you want to. And can you guys see my screen? Okay, I'm gonna open it up first and then.
Julie, you have to unmute yourself.
This Daniel Luton design
I'm
bridge.
gonna take it back just a minute, so sorry.
Pathways Over Pogues is an organization that formed to help get the Pogues Run Trail finished and fix the bridge that's holding it up. It's the oldest Daniel Luton design bridge in the city. He created an innovative design structure for this bridge in particular. It's on the historic register and it's falling apart. And it's been crumbling for many, many years. This bridge connects Spades Park to Brookside Park, and it's holding up the progress of the trail. It's gonna need to be fixed before the trail can continue.
Nothing could be better than having a large park, 123 acres, all connected by Pogues Run, right in the neighborhood. The parks sit under the canopy of two ancient Cinco Pin oaks, one 400 years old, with a circumference of almost 20 feet. You might be surprised to see all the types of animals, wildlife we have so close to downtown. It didn't take long to fall in love with the park after moving here. 3 years after getting established, I organized a major park cleanup. We got 83 tires, 36 shopping carts, 11 bicycles, and 2 wheelchairs. The highlight of that cleanup was finding a log that had fallen across the stream, so it was holding all this trash from flowing downstream. Came back the next day, that log was full of little baby turtles sunning themselves, enjoying their clean home.
Oh God, here we go. All right, guys, let me get you untangled here. I've been retired for 2 years now, but even before retirement, I was using the city's greenways and trails for biking and hiking. But over in our part of the city, there really isn't a similar resource. And I think the Pogues Run Trail would hugely expand our options for recreation, biking, all kinds of things. Near East Side has always been a hidden resource. There's interesting restaurants, stores, etc. We have a tremendous number of very historic homes in the neighborhood. Many have been restored back to their past brilliance and beauty.
So part of George Kessler's tenets for designing a city is to first look at the natural layout, the natural resources that are in the city. What you'll see along the corridors, though, is you're not going to see commercial development. Yes, you have your corners of, the little grocery store, the walkables at intersections, but they're not on the parkways. The only kinds of buildings were inspirational buildings, one of which is the Spades Library. This was not about commercial development. This was about the health of the people here in the city. So this bridge will open up a new section of the city all the way out to the county line.
The connection of the Monon and the Cultural Trail is probably 2,000 feet from here. The Brookside Trail is going to come right through here and connect to those. So it's going to be really easy for access to downtown for both pedestrians and bicycle people, and scooters, I might add. And people hate scooters, but I think they're great. But I'm old and unusual. The latest crazy idea is the threeplex independent art movie house that we're doing. There's an old missionary Unitarian church or something that we're going to have to take down. In this day and age of Starbucks and all the big box stores and everything that's going on in the world, people like to go to an independent place, independent coffee shop, independent restaurant. Everybody's going to be welcome. They're all going to come, and it's going to be great for the community. They better raise the money and build this trail right now.
Voila! Come to the east side and help us with this bridge. Thank you.
So there you have it. You can tell that was made a few months ago, and before the POP group got notification that they secured the community development block grant funding from the Department of Metropolitan Development at the city. So now I'm going to pull up a presentation and just kind of walk you guys through where we are now and where we want to go. And I think one of the things that, one of the themes that we hope plays out throughout today's presentation, both with Laurie and with ours, is how community driven this is. So ROW is just a support organization, a support collective, but really everything that you see happening is very much driven by the community. So we're going to talk about the Pogues Run Trail, and I'm joined here with Dan Leich, who is the co-chair with Jerry Shepard for the Pogues Run Waterway Committee. So first, I want to help you understand who ROW is. We're a collective impact initiative. We're not a nonprofit. We only exist because organizations come together, multiple organizations, over 100 across the city, to help identify opportunities for people to connect with the waterways in their community, to bring resources to the communities that are adjacent to our waterways, and with the hopes that as we increase our awareness, as we increase our value of our waterways, we will grow to care for it, because we know historically our waterways have been polluted and they have raw sewage in them. All that is changing, but we still need to find ways to care for our waterways and trails, and putting a trail system along our waterways is a really critical way that we can value, improve our quality of life, and care for our waterways. So we have a group of elements, which are folks that are professionals that bring resources to the waterways. We have a backbone, which is a small staff. And then we have a leadership steering committee that is many of the folks that we're working with all the time to advance our projects. But all of them are with the intent of bringing those resources to help the community realize those dreams that they're creating through their work plans annually. You'll see Rose mission on the left, but really it's important to know that we work along 6 waterways. And even though the White River is the primary artery of our city's river and stream system, we look at each one of our community waterways as the same as the White River. They're the tributaries of Little Eagle Creek, Central Canal, Fall Creek, Pleasant Run, and then of course Pogues Run. And so we work individually with those neighborhood groups and those neighbors and the institutions and the businesses to all really engage on how we want to activate and connect our residents with the waterway nearby. The Pogues Run Waterway and Pogues Run Trail is highlighted here just so that you can kind of see that it runs all the way to the White River, although it goes underground through a tunnel through downtown. And many people don't know about that, but that's a pretty interesting aspect. But it runs all the way up to the Art and Nature Park, which is actually put in as a flood control system when we were trying to take some of these urban areas out of the floodplain. Okay, hang on. And so, you know, Tom Batista in the video mentioned this connectivity. You know, connectivity is really critical, especially for a community like the Near East Side, where we have a lot of schools, we have a lot of churches, and we don't necessarily have all of the amenities that they have downtown. And so to be able to connect those communities to schools safely, to amenities like grocery stores and community services downtown are really critical. You can see the green line is the proposed Pogues Run Trail and how it connects directly at 10th Street with the Cultural Trail to downtown and to the Monon Trail that goes north-south. And so, as Jim alluded to, what we have been able to have constructed to date happened in 2014, and it really is a very small segment, less than a mile segment of the trail has been built. really right along the Circle City Industrial Complex that runs along, that one segment off of Brookside and Massachusetts. There right off of 10th Street. And you can see the community worked with Roe to put in a sign that gives people hope about what that trail could look like if we can get this money raised. But unfortunately, you also see this sign here that says trail ends. So that's boo. We want the trail to go on. So then, so this is the segment of trail that has been built. Right there, just that one small segment of Windsor Park. It does take us by a really nice park, the Fletcher Park, that the community has put in an area that was donated by the bank, the Bank of Indianapolis in the, I think it was about 2014. They have a beautiful sculpture. They have some seating and a fire pit area. But again, that's a very small segment. We also want to acknowledge this, that Citizens Energy Group is a critical partner of our Roe Pogues Run Committee. They attend our monthly meetings. They help us with our work plan, and they help update us every month on the Dig Indy project, which is their big, $1 billion project to remove raw sewage from our waterways and help clean them up. But then, so they did, when they put in a large holding tank and tunneling system in Brookside Park, they were able to restore that area with a small segment of trail. This is one of the ways that this community is leveraging dollars everywhere they can. So that represented about $200,000 in leveraged contribution from Citizens Energy Group, because they restored this area as a section of trail and not just restored it with turf grass like it was previously. And this is just a photo to show another one of our corporate partners. Laurie had mentioned that Roe helped secure some additional dollars. That was directly from Cummins. So Cummins is the international engine manufacturer. They're located right downtown. They've sort of adopted the Near East Side as an area that they want their employees to contribute time and effort and learn about. They have aligned themselves with groups like Big Brothers Big Sisters, and they have volunteers at some schools, but they have a lot of volunteers that come out every year, and they contribute some additional funding to Roe to help remove invasive species along both the Spades Park and the Brookside Park sections. We work with Keep Indianapolis Beautiful and the City of Indianapolis Land Stewardship, and to help remove those invasives so that we can see the waterways. They also help put in native plants that helps improve water quality and makes it more beautiful. And so that's just one of the work days that we had as part of Indy Do Day. Now, the second section that we look at phase 2 is through Spades Park. And that is a less than 1 mile segment. This is the segment that is that abuts both, Brookside and Spades Park are up against one another, but then there's the Nowland Avenue Bridge that sits right there in between the two. And so this is why that it is a critical section to get done, but then the bridge is equally as critical. They both depend on one another for us to have true connectivity throughout the community. And so right now, we've been working really hard on just trying to get this segment designed and built. The city had designed it to 50% back in 2015, back when they built that section of the first section of trail, but it didn't go any farther. And then that design becomes outdated in a short period of time. And so we've been working on trying to secure the additional dollars to get that designed and then to get it constructed. And so most recently, Cummins was able to contribute a total of $200,000. So 70 of that, as Laurie mentioned, for the bridge, and then $130,000 for the trail. And then the city stepped up and contributed 65,000, and we're able to get the design 100% done for that segment. Now that's just one segment, but it gets it that much farther along. And that's supposed to be completed by the end of the year. And we've also been trying to secure some Department of Natural Resources funding to help us build that trail. It's about $1 million total investment just for that segment. We haven't been successful yet, but maybe some of your folks on this that will view this will decide that they have some great ideas on how we can get that constructed and funded. So this is, we just wanted to show some highlights. If you're riding your bike along the Pogues Run Trail, even though it doesn't exist as a trail much yet, there's some really cool things to see. And in 2015, Roe and the community worked and designed 3 rest stops. There was one at Dorman Street down in the Cottage Home neighborhood, one in Spades Park, and then one up at Brookside, Paramount School of Excellence, Brookside. And we worked with the local Near East Side artist, Eric Nordland. There was also some work done with the local Arsenal Tech High School students and other Heron School of Art and Design students and faculty to build some really interesting artwork that is symbolic of our waterways. And so it's very connected and is and very beautiful. One of the other sites that's been built is the bird sanctuary. And this is in Spades Park. One of the other signs that the community identified wanting is a little bit of an identifier there. It's a really beautiful space, almost on the west side of the Nowland Avenue Bridge, where you can go and observe a lot of variety of bird species and created by the community. And then this is the Oaks. And Laurie, I thought maybe you could say a couple of words about this, because I think this is near your house and near the bridge.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, this is right across the street from me. This is Cinco Pin Oak Park. It's a little pocket park, and it's estimated to be over 300 years old. So those panels have information about what was going on before when the trees started growing, and that was before Indiana was a state. It was when the main people living here were Native Americans, and it's just a really cool space. And it has a little bit of an interesting story in that there was a big house in front of it, very similar to the house next door. And there was the Springdale president at the time walked by the alley and he noticed this tree that was basically hidden by the big house. And he knew this house was going to be torn down. He reached out to KIB to try to protect the tree when the house was torn down, and they did, and it was saved because, you know, it would have been easily cut down or damaged during that process. And then KIB helped us turn it into a green space. But there is an even older and grander Cinco Pin Oak just 2 blocks away. And in fact, we created a little trail that goes from one oak to the other. That other one is at the corner, of Temple and Brookside Parkway South Drive. It's really magnificent. And we have little sidewalk markers to guide you from one to the other. And also kind of show how you can then go into Spades Park and walk along what will be the part of Pogues Run Trail as well. So yeah, if anybody ever gets a chance, you can't miss it if you're looking for it. Temple and Brookside Parkway South Drive. And this one is at the 2300 block of Nowland Avenue. That's where this green space is. It's just that would be west of Brookside Parkway South Drive, I guess, and between Bevel and Keystone.
Thank you, Laurie. Yeah, so I think that, you know, we don't want to talk about the trail just as the trail. You know, it's just really important to see all these really beautiful things that can be observed along the way, even now. and encourage folks to get out. And I think you'll hear from Dan later about an easy way that you can find a lot of these locations too. So the very last segment is the Brookside Park segment, but it goes all the way up to the Art and Nature Park. And so it goes through Brookside Park, following some of the roads, but also and cutting across Pogues Run. Then it goes up only and then cuts over to 21st Street up to the Art and Nature Park. And this is a longer, more expensive segment. One of the reasons it's more expensive is that the Brookside and Space Park segments are actually within the current city property. So they're already greenways, they just don't have the improvements on them. And and one of the cool things to see along the way as you're going up towards the Art and Nature Park is the Paramount School of Excellence Brookside. And they have a walkway, they have sculptures, they have a farm and a garden. And they have a lot of, and this is the third Pogues Run rest stop that was created to sort of bookend those areas so that as you're riding along, you have stops along the way that are really beautiful. There are picnic tables there. And if you walk along this walkway, you can see the waterway across Brookside. And you can, on the other side, you can see goats and chickens and gardens. And it's just a really cool space that's been created by this community charter school. And then finally, you've heard us mention the Art and Nature Park several times. It was built as part of Indianapolis flood control project to help take some of our neighborhoods out of the floodplain. But it was, we had the foresight to, not we, Row, but we, the city and the community, had the foresight to make it into an arts park. So it's about not quite 2-mile loop that you can walk, and there's lots of beautiful art, and the water ebbs and flows. So sometimes the canoe is on water or underwater, and sometimes it's floating on these stilts the way it is in this photograph. It's a great place for bird watching. It's a great place. It's a very tranquil space. We've worked with Keep Indianapolis Beautiful to plant over 100 trees. And it's an area that you can see as you're driving along I-70 along the interstate, and you wonder, people often wonder what that space is. So now you know that that's the Art Nature Park. It's a great place to bike up to and walk around, or to drive. There's a parking lot there, and just check out that space. And so this gives you a sense of the entire trail, its connectivity, all the spaces that we've talked about along the way that we would like to complete. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dan to briefly go over a resource that he helped put together with our Pogues Run Waterway Committee. And Dan, just let me know when you'd like me to advance the slide.
Yeah, I'm Dan Leich. I am the new co-chair of the Pogues Run Waterway Committee. I'm still fairly new to the committee. I joined them last year. As a resident of Holy Cross, I live just a block away from the Pogues Run. And as an urban planner, which my job is, I'm always interested in seeing connectivity with all types of transportation. And I was interested in seeing the Pogues Run Trail come to its completion at some point in time. So last year, when we were going through the work plan for the year, I saw that they did an annual bike tour in the fall, Row, along with the Pogues Run Waterway Committee. And I thought, hey, that's something I can jump in and help with. I had done some bike tours as a volunteer with Indiana Landmarks, so I had a little bit of background in it. But unfortunately, that got curtailed by the pandemic. So in discussions that we had, we decided to have a self-tour. And they had an original map here that basically highlighted the rest stop areas, started at the Dorman Street Cottage Home area and then went up to the Pogues Run Art Nature Park. And I thought, well, there's a lot more on this trail, and I think that we should start to highlight some other things along there. Our points of interest, as you can see here, are nature, recreation, art and culture, the businesses along there, any historic buildings that are along there, and also educational institutions. I also extended it a little bit further south to start it at the Pogues Run Tunnel. As you might be aware of, a lot of Pogues Run runs underneath the city and is not visible. But right here in Holy Cross, it's where it enters the tunnel. Then the rest of it is visible all the way through to the Art and Nature Park. So I developed this map, handheld, hard copy. And Julie, if you want to just go ahead and go to the next slide. On the back of it, tells a little bit about each one of the stops that you'll see along here. I believe there's about 36 different stops on there. Like I said, we wanted to highlight not only the art along there, but also businesses. So when people come over and do the bike or walking trail, they can stop at several different businesses along the way. You know, one of the main goals of us with this the Pogues Run Waterway Committee is not only the quality of the water, but also getting people to come visit the east side and see what we have here. So as I was doing this, I was thinking, okay, our next transition of this would be to get this on a mobile app, because that's what most people use nowadays, are their phones to do these. So luckily, one of our committee members had used an app called PocketSights. And so I went to investigate this, and it's a wonderful little app. It's free. Julie, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. It's a free app. It was user-friendly, very user-friendly for me to put this tour on. And then also it's user-friendly for people who are using the app. Like I said, it's called PocketSights here. This is from one of the posters we put up. We're trying to get the word out that we have this here. You just download the app. As soon as you have that, the app is really nice because wherever you're located by the GPS on your phone, it'll bring up the closest tour to you. And there are several tours besides ours. A lot of them are the tours that I did with landmarks. So there's a lot of neighborhood tours on here as well. But I was able to put a lot more information about each one of our stops. They can go to links to find out, for instance, for the Circle City Industrial Complex, they can go to their link and then find out all the list of businesses that are in there. There's Center Point Brewery, there's 8th Day Distillery, there's Sochati Chocolate and Lick Ice Cream. So it's a real helpful tool. Right now, we're just trying to get this out to the public so they know that it's here, and hopefully we'll extend upon this as well. All was not lost as well. We were able to do an in-person tour just last Thursday for the Walk Bike Places Conference. So we did kind of an edited tour of what we would normally do, in the fall. So I think that's going to prep us good for our fall tour this year. So I'll turn it back over to you, Julie.
Thank you. So I really just want to thank you, Connie, for your interest in having Pop and Ro be with you today. But mostly, I want to thank all those folks and all the neighbors, the funders, the businesses, and others that have really gotten us this far and have stuck with this project for so long, because it has been an uphill battle. And nickel and diamond here and there, and they've made a lot of progress, but we really want to get this trail built. And so with that, I'll take questions. I'll stop sharing my screen and let everybody come up.
I have a couple of questions. So you've got the 3 phases for the trail, for the Pogues Run Trail. It's very exciting, first of all, that you have the funding that you need for the Nowland Avenue Bridge. That's a linchpin, obviously, for the trail. So that's really, really exciting. And I know that the Next Level Trails folks received an additional $60 million in the last legislative session. Unfortunately, there's a lot of a lot of competition for those dollars, as well as the city can only apply for one, and they've not chosen Pogues Run as one of those. But I just went, like, I was at the Walk Places Bike Conference and went to the B&O bike tour and heard their presentation and how they, you know, the city of Indianapolis was not the one who got the funding for that. It was actually the neighborhood associations, and partnered with CICF for part of it, and the B&O Trail Association. So I'm just kind of putting that out there, that maybe the community organizations that you've already developed these relationships with could do the application for Pogues Run Trail for that funding once it either this year or when they do the 60 million, the other 60 million.
Yeah, just to respond to that. So we had initially, we did know that there were a couple of priorities that the city had ahead of ours. So they have not made our application. In the initial year, we had the Parks Foundation, which is now the Parks Alliance, make the application. DNR rejected that. I mean, they did after the fact. They said if we reapplied, they didn't want it to be a pass-through, that the person who secured the funding should be the one that manages the construction. And so we reached out to a lot of community groups, and our friends at Inglewood Community Development agreed to both be the applicant to accept the money and to manage the project. But after phase 2, they told us that that wasn't a good option for the future either if we reapplied for phase 3. So now we just need to figure that out. But we're also recognizing that there, we need over $5 million, somewhere between 5 and 7 million to really complete this trail. And so we're looking at a lot of other partnerships. Certainly Central Indiana Community Foundation and their Connected Communities effort is a big partner that we're working with. CICF actually started Row, was one of the founding partners, and continues to be really engaged. And so I think we all are hoping that through local foundations, through federal funding, through some other avenues, that we can get some traction here. But thank you for that suggestion, because we do know more money's coming, and we do know eventually we will be the priority trail for the city. But currently they've been focused on regional versus these local projects. There's 2 pools of funding, and been partnering with other counties to try to get some of those, the B&O and nickel plate done.
Yeah, so I watch a bunch of different federal funding things too. So as I get them, I'll share them with you as I get news of other different programs. I know there's one called RAISE, RAISE. I forget what it stands for, but that funding is available, I think, for community projects, possibly like this. There's also now there are what used to be called earmarks. They have a new name for them. So possibly through the federal funding with Representative Carson.
We've been in touch with,
Yeah.
we've been in touch with Congressman Carson's office and had some good dialogue. They were sort of testing that out last year. The Community Projects Fund, which was previously called earmarks, and that they hope that they'll be able to do that again in the next biennial budget.
Yeah, the first time they did that, they gave them a really, really tight timeline to get that in, like a month, maybe.
And a
before-
small amount of money, honestly, too, for.
Yeah, it wasn't, it wasn't a lot of money, but you're always looking for additional things. But as I get them, I'll, also forward them to you. And hopefully we can, I've just been so impressed with what you've been able to do so far to get the funding for the bridge. And it just seems like a no-brainer to put the trail in as well. I'm very excited about the PocketSights app. One of the things that we've been working on is a ride spot app. Well, it's already finished, but we've been putting, me specifically, but others have been putting bike routes, self-directed bike routes on Ride Spot. And so I would love to, we don't really have anything on the east side, so I'd love to potentially also use your PocketSight app as a basis for a ride spot.
Jamie, I think his name's Jamie McPherson.
Yeah.
He's with the
Mhm.
city, and I talked to him, and he had told me about this app, and I looked at it. I think that the PocketSights is a little bit better on that, but I know rideshare gets more of the bikers on there. So I still want to put that on or ride, what's it called? Ride Spot
Yeah.
app as well. So I want to get that on there because I figure it's the more exposure.
Yeah, the more exposure.
So I'm planning on putting that on Ride Spot as well.
Yeah, so now, we're very involved with Ride Spot. We're an affiliate and we're involved with the development of it. A long time, like 3 years ago when it got developed. So we're really focused on that, but they now have challenges. And so I've been putting on different challenges, and one of the challenges that we're going to have, so you can encourage people to go on specific rides, or encourage people to ride 5 times, 10 times, or 20 times in a specific period, or a certain number of miles. And so what we're going to be doing, we're actually partnering with Active People, Healthy Indy, the local initiative for Active People, Healthy Nation. And we're going to be partnering with them in July. I actually have a meeting with them tomorrow to finalize, to make some parks to parks challenges, that we'd have a route that connects 2 different parks that people need to ride, as well as ride to farmers markets. So bike to farmers markets, bike to markets. So we're going to be doing that in July. And I was thinking, we don't really have anything on the east side. So it might be kind of fun to do connect the 2 parks that you already have this route for our park.
I might like to get in contact with you later on and find out, since you know the ins and outs of that.
Yeah, you can add photos.
And to see how we can, transfer this.
Right. Yeah. And I think I should probably be able to do that from looking at the PocketSights app. But I'd be very interested in seeing if we can highlight this and get people excited about the area and knowing what's there as well. I thought it was, I thought I knew the area just kind of from, and I was just amazed by your presentation of what is there and what the PocketSights app was showing. And I think I didn't really know too much about Brookside. I always have seen the Pogues Run Nature Park, and I'm like, what is that thing? And, how do you get to it? And so I think, lots of other people would be interested as well. And, the connectivity to the Monon and to the cultural trail on the west side of the future Pogues Run Trail is, something that people don't really know about. So.
Connie, you mentioned connecting farmers markets. I just wanted to say I just read that there's also a farmers market at CCIC building. Does anybody else know anything more about that? Julie, you want to say more about it?
I think it's called the Farmer and the Flea. So it's sort of a artisan flea market, farmers market. That's is it on Saturdays? I'll actually look it up real quick and put a link in the chat. But it's brand new, that the Larry Jones that owns Circle City Industrial, or Teagan Properties, just started that about 3 to 4 weeks ago. And they're building it, but it's supposed to be pretty fun. It's in the same space that the Indy Winter Farmers Market was in.
Okay.
But it's supposed to have a lot more music, live music, food trucks, some other stuff. It's supposed to be a real fun, festive atmosphere.
Yeah, that would be neat, and we could potentially use this route from like Pogues Run going to the market and then back, you know, the route that you've created. I think that would be a really neat thing to highlight. So yeah, I'd love to connect with all of you on that. So to help us out with our challenge and also give you all more visibility and have more people find out about your area.
And isn't there like a skating event that happens in the parking lot at CCIC? Anybody else know anything about that? No.
I've observed it, but I don't know any details.
I thought that's where that new market was going to be, is there in the parking lot, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, if you know, just another interesting little thing that goes on around here.
Yeah, there's
I don't know, Can is the movie theater that Tom Batista was talking about that he's creating. And because of COVID, they haven't officially opened the building. They've been doing it on virtually. But I don't know, does anybody know when the Can thing, and there's a little shop there, a little like a craft shop there. Does anybody know when Can is officially open?
Yeah, mid August, like August 15th or 18th, something like that. And they have been doing private events. In fact, they're doing a private screening of a documentary tonight with 12 Star Media. And they've been doing other things. They hosted us as part of the Walk Bike Places. And we were able to secure food from a lot of the local businesses, little samples of food and drink, and they Can open their doors, and we were able to socially distance and show the pop video on the screen. It's a beautiful facility. But yeah, I think that'll be open soon. There's Martha Lotta's Stomping Grounds, which is a little shop, the garden and t-shirt and other kinds of sundry items shop. There's a skate shop that's opening next door with a beauty salon, and then Amelia's Bakery is opening there and in the other building next to Can. So they're sort of creating a little business district, perfect for riding over a long Pogues run and stopping in there for food or a movie or shopping. It's really a neat area that's being created.
And they could get some ice cream at CCIC. Lick Ice Cream is a nice. CCIC has a lot of fun artist stuff going on, and new entrepreneurs and breweries. There's a cool bowling. What are they bowling? It's not. You're not bowling with pins. What is that? You're throwing a football or something.
It's cross between football and bowling, bowling.
Just a lot of.
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, that was one of our main goals with the group that we had, was to show that on, bike trails and everything, that, sometimes there's a lot to see besides nature. I mean, there's also, especially when you're in an urban area, our trip was called an urban adventure. There's a ton of shopping to do, to be had right on the trail. I mean, it's not like you have to go off a couple blocks. It's basically right there on the trail. And that's what's kind of, I think, unique about the Pogues Run Trail. And when it happens, that you've got businesses there, plus you've got nature, plus you've got, art to see as well.
And there is a lot of
it's a lot of different things, and historic buildings.
Yeah, and a lot of nature to be seen. We see fox, we see blue heron, we see raccoons, we see turtles, we see a lot of varieties of birds, and with planting the pollinators and natives, we see a lot of butterfly varieties. Laurie, you were shaking your head. Did I miss any of our wildlife?
Groundhogs. Am I muted?
No, I was. What'd you say?
Groundhogs. Yeah.
And even a deer a couple of weeks ago, which isn't necessarily a good thing, that a deer had come along the waterway and made it into a very urban area. So
and we recently a local bird guide we had a bird watching event out at the Art Nature Park, and saw several different species that I'd never even heard of. Some just travel through, but it was something nice, an event to have that involves the Pogues Run Trail, or the eventual Pogues Run Trail. So that's a nice area that a lot of people probably don't know about and have never been to, and it's actually quite interesting. Especially what it's actually for is stormwater control, but it makes a nice nature area too.
So
Awesome.
like Tom Batista said in the video, help us get this trail built.
Right.
Thank you for
Well, if we don't, we did have a couple people join us. If we don't have any additional comments or questions, I would definitely like to connect with some of you to for what we're planning for July, and also other ways that we can hopefully highlight what's going on with the Pogues Run Trail and get additional interest for it. It looks like a great thing, and thank you very much for joining me, and we will hopefully see more about Pogues Run Trail in the near future.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having us.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, Connie.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Too. Bye.